If there is one thing that has stuck with me throughout my life, it is my love for capturing moments. I place a lot of meaning and sentimental value to the different chapters that make up my life, and this year I adored combining 1-second clips together to document the little moments that made up this chapter, 2021. 2021 was an eventful year to say the least. I pushed myself so far outside my comfort zone that my comfort zone was no longer comfortable. I strengthened old friendships and formed new ones, as well as letting go of old mindsets that were holding me back from living in a way that felt true to myself. I learned a lot about different types of relationships this year and different kinds of love you can have for different people. I figured out the kind of people that I want to surround myself with, the kind that lift each other up and brave through the year's challenges together, the kind of people that I am so grateful to finally say I have found. For the first time in longer than I'd like to think about, I felt a sense of belonging. And as someone who has spent a large portion of time desperately trying to come to conclusions that make the hurricane that is uncertainty feel less daunting, I allowed myself to be, to not have to constantly feel like I had to prove and justify my existence on Earth. I finally felt, after years of doubt and confusion, that I was enough, simply as I was. But although 2021 was a bright, full year filled with self-discovery and growth, it's not to say that it didn't come with its challenges, like every new chapter does. These rough, challenging periods were not captured in these 1-second clips, as they did not exactly fit the aesthetic requirements, but the dark times where I felt like there was simply no light left, no matter where I searched, instilled in me a sense of strength that I hadn't felt before. A sense of strength that fought to stay, even when my mind told me I was close to defeat.
I have a chicken with me.
Hello! Hey! Wait, which camera do you look at?
I learned that accomplishments don't have to be earth-shattering. Accomplishment can be achieved by simply not giving in. I learned to define myself by these accomplishments and not by my failures. 2021 was fun. I met so many amazing new people and made memories that I will tell my grandchildren one day. I laughed and danced and felt freedom and peace within the uncertainty. I felt like I had finally come to know myself and finally felt happy with the person that I knew. This year, I learned to let people in, to let them see me, something fear had not allowed me to do before then. This year, I wrote and wrote and wrote and allowed creativity to fuel me. I worked harder than I ever had, cried harder than I ever had, and felt more alive than I ever had.
Say hello! I'm ready.
I've always been someone who has never really been able to live in the moment. I've always been here and there and thinking about what has happened and what will happen and what could have happened and just focused on everything else apart from now.
People are gonna move into our house, and so this is the shirt I'm wearing.
But I think I'm really starting to learn that all we really have is right now, and at the end of the day it'll be over before we know it, so we might as well just take it in while we can. Oftentimes we are so focused on where we want to go and what we want to achieve and where we want to end up that we forget to look back and reflect on how far we've come and the small personal achievements that we have in our lives and the small challenges we've overcome, the big challenges we've overcome, the invisible challenges that we've overcome. Another thing that really stood out for me this year is that I met a lot of new people on a level that wasn't just the surface. I was able to see people and people were able to see me, and I spoke to people about their stories and about my story and got to know people on a level that had depth and wasn't superficial. It made me feel, and it makes me feel, purposeful and for lack of a better word, just good to get to know people for who they are, because when you really get to know someone, we have all been through such similar things, even though we're all so different, and those struggles and trials in our lives have come in different forms and in different ways, but we are really so much more similar than we give ourselves credit for, and I think it's really important to recognize that. And at the end of the day, New Year's doesn't really mean anything. It's not like the clock strikes midnight and we suddenly wake up a new version of ourselves just because the calendar told us that in fact a new year of our lives is upon us and now we need to be different. I think taking time to just be is really important, and to not have to feel like you must prove yourself worthy of being here, because you are worthy of being here already, and there's no need to feel like you have to prove that.
Day to you.
Hey, chickens.
We're about to write an exam.
This year I also turned 17, and for once I felt like I was ready, and I've always had such a debilitating fear of growing up because I was so afraid of time moving. But now I finally feel like I'm ready to take it on, and I'm ready for the good and for the bad and for the in-between, because I know now that I can take it on, and I believe that I have that inside of me, which I never believed before. Take a moment to think back on 2021, this past little blimp in our lives, and think about who you were at the beginning and who you are now and how far you've come.
How do you look so dumb?